All right, first of all, Katrina, I don't want to legitimize slanderous gossip, but there is some tabloid trash that's been making the rounds now from Gossip Magazine, National Enquirer. I hate to even address it. I don't want to give them lifeblood for what they're doing. They're accusing Ted Cruz of having extramarital affairs. They accuse you of being one of the women he's having an affair with. Do you want to address that quickly before we move on to more substantial issues?
Oh, I'd love to, actually. It's totally false. I'm speaking for myself that there is zero chance that any of this is true. And it's a little disturbing the way that obviously it is a sleazy tabloid. But it's interesting how they sort of slime their way around some of the details, trying to avoid a lawsuit, which is not going to serve them well. The other thing is they're talking about she made her Instagram private last night, which is not the case because on a campaign, you have a social media policy. So my Instagram has been private for months. So it just looks like there are some people that are really trying to do some damage to the political campaigns. Welcome to presidential politics. It is absolutely categorically false.
And it's disgusting. I mean, it's one thing to accuse candidates of policy differences. It's another thing to pick out staff members of different campaigns and smear their personal lives. I'm sorry that you have to go through that. Let's talk about some of the more substantial issues related to the campaigns now. Let's talk about some of the violence that's been happening at Donald Trump's rallies. First in Chicago, then in Dayton, like I mentioned in the intro. And critics are saying that Donald Trump is responsible for this, that his rhetoric is inflammatory. Katrina, how do you respond to that?
Well, we've been fighting this mantra in the mainstream media for a couple of weeks now, and it's been very interesting that, it's not Trump people going to opposition campaigns and protesting. In fact, we know for sure that it was Bernie Sanders people going to our campaigns and Black Lives Matter and MoveOn.org. It's not a big secret. They tweet about it. They write about it. They brag about it. They issued statements about it, essentially declaring war for the general election. But what we do know, Liz, is this is exactly how the militant left operates. If you are a threat to what they want to do in this country, a threat to removing things like political correctness, then they will come after you. They will intimidate you. They will try to scare you. They try to put fear into your supporters. But what they're finding out is our supporters are unafraid.
Right, and I like the term that you used, militant left, because at the Chicago rally, as you know, Bill Ayers, domestic terrorist right here in the United States.
He was there.
He was attending the rally. He was there. He was certainly part of it, and it was no spontaneous protest. Katrina, I do want to ask, though, critics have one good point that I would like if you would address, and that's the fact that Mr. Trump has pseudo-called for violence in the sense that he said, and I want to get the quote right here, if you see somebody getting ready to throw a tomato, knock the crap out of them. Trump said, just knock the hell. I promise you, I'll pay the legal fees. How do you respond to that?
Well, Mr. Trump always jokes with his crowd on stage. He talks about how things were 50 years ago and how people wouldn't be able to get away with that. He even says, I'd like to punch him in the face, but it's joking. Whenever he says that in the crowd, everyone laughs. It is understood. It's only those on the outside are trying to make a big deal out of it. They pull the clip, removing the crowd response, and try to make it something that it simply isn't. Mr. Trump is always speaking to his audience just as if he's at the kitchen table, laughing, making jokes, and responding to the audience in kind.